body that is building the Mumbai Metro has now got permission to cut an extra 93 trees at the city's Green Lung RA to build the controversial metro shed that has been at the epicenter of a legal, political and environmental battle. The Supreme Court has granted this permission even as it pulled up the Mumbai Metro body and slapped a 10 lakh rupee fine that needs to be paid within 2 weeks. The fine has been imposed for breaching the Supreme Court's order that allowed for the cutting of 84 trees to build the metro shed. Now, the body is the MMCRCL that is building the metro, asked the BMC for permission to cut 185 trees instead of the 84 that the Supreme Court had allowed, and was given the go-ahead for 177 trees in all. Now, they ended up now wanting to cut more trees than was allowed for the construction of the metro shed. When this information was made public, an activist filed a PIL in the Bombay High Court, bringing in a stay. The Supreme Court has now pulled up the metro body, saying it's contempt of court, but allowed the felling of trees, saying the project should not be brought to the standstill. So finally, the trees will be cut. Meanwhile, is this worth the damage to the environment? To speak on this, Shine and See continues with us. I'm joined by Zoru Bhathena, activist and one of the petitioners who's taken this to court, Stalin, the member of Van Shakti, also with us on the show. Zoru Bhathena, let me come to you and, just get some clarity on you on what the Supreme Court has said today and how this ties into your action in court.
Well, we need to go back to 2019 when the issue of cutting of over 3,000 trees was pending before the Bombay High Court. On a Friday evening, the Bombay High Court passed an order saying that we are unable to state this issue. You need to go to the Supreme Court to decide this issue. And the Fadnavis government overnight cut several hundred trees in the RA forest, and there was a huge uproar at that point of time. On Monday morning of that same weekend of 2019, the Supreme Court, in a special petition and a suo motu petition, the Supreme Court themselves took up the issue of the RA forest, and they stayed the cutting of every single tree in RA. That was October 2019. 2 months later, the government changed, and the NVA government took a stand that they do not want the depot to be made in RA. Decided to move the depot out to Kanpur, and it was unfortunately the union government, through the offices of the then opposition leader Mr. Fadnavis, who again stalled the move of the depot out of RA by stalling the move to Kanpur. In June 22.
So at the end of the day, Mr. Bhathena, right now the Supreme Court has wrapped the metro body. They've fined them 10 lakh rupees, but they've said go ahead and cut the trees because we can't stand in the way of development. Now, as an activist who has been on the Save RA campaign, how do you respond to that?
Yes, but there's a lot of history to this. So when the Fadnavis government came back into power in June 22, they again illegally cut all the trees in the depot plot when there was a stay order of the Supreme Court. Now, that issue regarding the illegal cutting of 3,000 trees is still pending before the Supreme Court. Supreme Court has not looked into it, not given a decision yet. Fortunately, unfortunately, Metro came before the Supreme Court in August 22 and again made a statement that we will not cut a single tree because we've already cut all the trees we want illegally this time. In November 22, they again came back to the Supreme Court. Metro made an application to the Supreme Court that we are finding 84 trees in the way of our work. We want to cut them. The Supreme Court granted them permission for cutting 84 trees and reinforced the stay for cutting every other tree in RA. In breach of that, Metro again asked for permission for 177 trees. So this is a never-ending chain of lies by Metro. Right from day one, we've been after them that RA is not a place for them to make a depot. It's a forest. It's a very important eco-sensitive,
एक
ecological
photo
part of
लेना
Mumbai. It needs to be saved. We're very thankful to the Supreme Court for giving them a little slap on their little finger today. But
no, but that's what I'm saying. That's exactly, it's a slap on the little finger. You know, environmentalists today will feel happy that they've pulled up the metro body saying, you know, you're taking us for a ride, etc. But look at what the Supreme Court has said while allowing the trees to be felled. They've said we cannot take action which comes in the way of development, which will help people. This is important because Stalin, Dayanand, I'm going to come to you now, this is laying down legal precedent that when push comes to shove, the top court is now agreeing that the metro work is important. And we will have to take other measures for protection of environment, but development will get, you know, more leeway here. Isn't that the message?
This message has been, it's been given out by the judiciary for quite some time. I'm not surprised. What has happened today is that the Supreme Court, Honorable Supreme Court, no disrespect meant to the institution, but has allowed itself to be bullied and misled. They have succumbed to the lies which were sent to them, and they have opened a Pandora's box today. What the people don't know today also is that at least 1,000 more trees will be cut because they have to expand the depot in the coming years. It is not going to stop with this 177 trees. The Supreme Court, Honorable Supreme Court, needed to actually hear the main matter and understand the gravity of the situation. Here you have allowed this 177 trees, and like you said, it set a precedent that the corporations or the bodies which want to destroy can go ahead and destroy, and later on come and the Supreme Court will say, okay, fine, you've destroyed everything, so go and destroy some more. This is absolutely disastrous what has happened today. And 10 lakhs, fine. Tell me, is the MMRCL going to pay it from some official's pocket? No, it is public's money. It is going from one department to another. So what meaning does that fine have? Nothing. But we stand vindicated that the MMRCL is a body which continuously lies to the people and has come to the court and misled the court also. They have violated the court orders, which we can prove anytime. But the problem is that the Supreme Court, Honorable Supreme Court, should listen to this main matter where we have shown that even when the stay order was in force, they have cut down trees. And
no, how will that help? Mr. Dayanand, how will that help? I want to understand, if this is now looking like a fait accompli, you're saying 1,000 more trees are going to be cut.
Yes.
So how is this going to help? The concern, which is that one of Mumbai's key green lungs is being extinguished. That is the concern.
Exactly. What the Honorable Supreme Court today has actually demonstrated that it lacks the desire, or it is not able to show that it will implement its orders strictly, and it will allow the government to keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and give it's allowing the government to get away with what is it's completely illegal. If we, God forbid, had violated any court order, we would have been hauled up and sent to jail. But unfortunately, the MMRCL, despite violating court orders, not just violating court orders, mind you, there's a difference here. The MMRCL has gone ahead and literally tried to bully the municipal corporation. That you people don't try to interpret the Supreme Court order. We are telling you that it is allowing us to cut the trees, so you should allow it to us.
Shaina, see, you've listened to everyone. You know, at the end of the day, I understand the whole debate, and it's a very important debate about development versus environment. But this is not just development versus environment. This is a body that's overseeing the metro work being too clever by half. They're saying one thing, doing another thing, and then turning it into a fait accompli. Itna to kaam ho gaya, we've gone so far, now we just have to cut more trees. I want to ask you seriously, is there no concern about the environmental impact? Does it not matter at all? Because, you know, just look at what we're going through. Mumbai has become one of the top polluted cities in this country. Some of those water cuts that we were talking about is also because work like the metro work is puncturing tunnels. We don't know when this will end. Dust pollution has also gone up. there has to be some accountability of impact on RA as well.
So Tamanna, I am a Mumbaikar too, and my father, late Padma Shri Nana Chudasma, fought and championed the cause of the environment through Mumbai Maji Ladki, I Love Mumbai, and various other NGOs. So I have utmost respect for the other panelists who are environmentalists in their individual capacity and who have championed the cause too. But I ask you 3-4 questions as a Mumbaikar. Should development coexist or not? If we talk about the carbon emission that one is going to have without the trees being cut and cars going back and forth, and look at the kind of carbon emission which you're going to save with the metro, that is one question. Devendra Fadnavis, when he was the deputy CM, up until, as he is now, has said that this metro shed should be part of the development where it exists to not just save money for the taxpayers, but to also see that the Mumbaikars who need this development and the amount of cars that would have been commuting and the amount of threat to the environment is obviously overlooked by a few. This matter is sub judice. The honorable courts have given what they feel is to be done in terms of a fine. I want to say that for every tree cut, the state government has said that they will plant so many more. And all of this is going to happen in stipulated time. You have an IIT panel which is looking into this. You have Mr. Fadnavis himself continuing with the same site with the assurance that every tree that is felled will be subsequently planted with maybe 3 times the amount or even more. Now, if you are going to just ram about a Save RA campaign, which is only to ensure that you are championing the cause of the environment, I would want to say with humble plea, please champion the cause of development too. Please understand that shifting to Kanjurmarg, eastern suburbs, and to have a car shed shifted suddenly, that was a thing of the past. If 800 acres of land, of which a certain section is only being used for this project, and you're going to embroil yourself
but is it only the question of 1 minute, China and see, you've conflated this with the Kanjurmarg development or the Kanjurmarg proposal that is now in the past, that has been shot down. I'm sure Mr. Stalin will also agree, and now Kanjurmarg is not happening. The question here today is that are you actually cutting as many trees as you're claiming? Why don't you be transparent?
Still keep talking about it.
Why don't you try? Mr. Stalin, to quote China, ram about RA campaign.
If you were granted permission.
Yes, Mr. Stalin. So they are saying that they will be following the timeline. There is an IIT panel. The trees that are supposed to be planted in lieu of what is cut in RA will be done in the stipulated timeline. What about the ease that the metro is going to provide for the people of this city? Don't we need better public transport? Every major city in the world and in the country has a metro. What about our metro? Surely you cannot argue that Mumbai does not need a metro.
We have never said that we are against the metro. The first point which Ms. Shaina raised was that the cars will come off the road. Ms. Shaina, even the Honorable Supreme Court said, don't give us this argument. This is not correct. Nowhere in the world, in India, they have cars come down because of metro. That let us go, leave that aside. Second point you made is that you're going to plant 3 times the number of trees. Now this battle is 10 years old. If you have planted 3 times the number of trees, you should show us where it is. We have gone on ground and shown that it is not going to happen, and it has not happened. Now, if you're taking away 64 hectares of land which has trees on it, what you should do is to plant trees on 200 hectares, not the number of trees. I cannot take away a palatial bungalow and a farmhouse which you have and put you in a studio apartment and say you have 2 fans there, so you have 2 fans here, 2 ACs here, 2 here, 2 beds are here, so fine, all is done. No. You show us that you will create 3 times the same forest you're destroying. 200 hectares of land you need to purchase and then talk. Say that, okay, we destroyed so much. Here we have done 3 times something better. Don't play with this number of trees. These trees which you are so-called, your saplings which you are claiming are growing, nothing is there on the ground. You can go back on my social media pages. I've gone on ground and the forest department itself
is
running around trying to hide.
They're saying there's stipulated time. 1 minute,
Yes.
Mr. Stalin. They're saying there's stipulated time to plant the trees. They will. What about that?
No, they have already, the High Court appointed committee also has shown that whatever they claim to have transplanted has failed so far. It is not the case that they started cutting today. They have started cutting way back. In 2019 onwards, they have been cutting, continuously cutting. And they are going to cut another 1,000 plus trees in the coming years. So fine, if the court feels that that is the price we need to pay for development, we will, at least I on a personal level would say, okay, but then demonstrate. Buy land which is 3 times that size and afforest it and show us in this city, not somewhere in Nanded or Amravati, somewhere in Mumbai where Mumbai can get its benefit. That is not possible. So a trade-off which is unfair and which is imaginary is not acceptable to us. That's the point.
Zoru Bhathena, you know, one minute. A lot of people watching this, will all care for the environment, the quality of their air, but they will also say that, you know, these environmentalists are the ones who are stopping the development of something like the Mumbai Metro. Get over it. Every city needs great infrastructure. We deserve great infrastructure too. What would you say to them?
People who say that we are trying to stop the metro are just making up stories or they haven't understood it. Our issue is simply with a metro depot. A depot is where the trains park at night, where they get serviced, where they get washed, where they get cleaned. The same depot of Kanpur was selected by the Fadnavis government in 15, and he made all sorts of excuses that it was private land, we can't go there, 5,000 crores we need to pay. We exposed every one of those lies. Eventually, in 2020, when the depot could move to Kanpur, the salt department got up and said it's our land. That was also a lie. June 22, the salt department withdrew their claim. They said, no, we don't want to continue with this case. And that same plot has last week been allotted to another metro line. The same plot which Mr. Fadnavis couldn't get his hands on for 7 years suddenly got available now because the Supreme Court has said, go and make your depot in ours. This is just a big game. The depot can be made anywhere. There's nothing to do with the metro line. And let me just give an example of Mumbai. In Mumbai, over the last 2 months, 2 new metro lines have started. Wonderful lines, Metro 2A and Metro 2 and Metro 7. Metro 7 doesn't have a depot. The line is operating without a depot. They merged Metro 2 and Metro 7 and made a combined depot at Karpo. And any story that these 2 metro lines, which are good lines, it's very helpful for the public to travel, but they have not reduced 1 car from the road. Just travel on Link Road or Western Express Highway and see for yourself. This story that metro will come and move cars and clean up the air is nonsense.
No, so maybe it won't, reduce the number of cars, but definitely those who are hanging out of local trains in almost an inhuman way may get another option. More routes will be connected. No one can argue that a city must not be connected. But Zoru Bhathena is making the case that I'm not against the metro. I'm against, what is happening in lieu of the trees that are being cut. China, and see, I want you to respond. Afforestation in larger space in the city, at least make up for the loss to this green lung.
Tamanna, our government has said on record that yes, every tree cut, there will be compensated, and in due time you will see that these plantations are for public to see and we as an accountable government to deliver on. Do you want development or do you not? Does Mumbai need a metro or does it not? Does Mumbai need to save taxpayers' money or does it not? So my limited appeal to a microscopic minority that seems to tear down every intent of development is that view holistically view carbon emissions, view the facilities to the commuter, view the facilities to the Mumbaikars, and yes, as environment lovers, also acknowledge the fact that if there is no accountability, hold us to ransom. But if there is an in stipulated time, what have the Honourable Court said? The Honourable Courts have said, please do not take us for a ride and finish your work in due course. And if you have to cut these 177 trees, this is the fine you have to pay. But the permission which has been granted is done in accordance with law and in accordance with the top courts. So if you're going to make this into a political one-upmanship, I think it's unfortunate. Let's think of the crores of Mumbaikars who benefit through this development plan.
You know, even if those who are fighting for the environment are a minority, they deserve and they need to be having their voices heard. Most people don't care.
Absolutely.
Most people don't care.
Absolutely.
For
We
every
respect their
government,
voices.
for every
And we
government,
would
no
have
matter what
also
party.
chosen another spot, but it's not feasible. You have.
No,
Tamanna, let me just make one point. One limited point. You have.
Go ahead.
You have experts. You have experts in the administration, you have experts outside the administration, you have IITians, you have all of whom who have advised the government. The government has not just gone on its own agenda. And if there is a contrarian opinion, yes, in a large democracy, you will have those who are for it and those who are against it. But look at the larger good of public at large and the commuter.
Now, I'm making a different point, and I want to thank you, Shaina, for staying on for both debates, Mr. Stalin and Mr. Zoru, for this. My point is that environmentalists and right activists are usually a thorn in the side of whichever government is in power. They are those quote-unquote irritating people, that minority that won't let go and just listen to whatever is being told. We need them as a democratic society. They're going to fight the fight that no one else will. They're important.